or he'll gain the extra step or space needed to beat you. Consider positioning yourself to shade him to one side. Consider that you're only influencing him in one direction. Learning how to play defense on the dribbler in the irritating manner I've just described takes time and practice. Especially when you're learning, you're going to occasionally get beat. Even accomplished defenders make mistakes and let great ball handlers get by them. But defense isn't over just because they get by you. Here are some tips on recovering. Using your closest hand, tip under the hand of the dribbler as you recover past him. Don't reach across your body or slap down on the ball. You'll get called for the foul. Don't recover directly behind the dribbler. If he stops, you'll run over him and get called for the foul. Sprint to a spot well in front of the dribbler before you turn and break down into a defensive stance. Most defenders make the mistake of trying to close off the dribbler too soon, usually when they're side by side. 99% of the time, the officials call that a foul. If your man is threatening to score before you've recovered, look to run in front of the layup and strip him. Don't take a violent swipe at the ball. You'll get called for the foul. Instead, try to mess with his timing by making him hide the ball and change his steps. This chapter is the essence of one-on-one defense. First to 11, make it, take it, win by 2, check. Ball in. How your man catches the ball will dictate your initial stance. A bad catch means you can crowd the pivot foot, eating up the space between you. Straddling his pivot leg will allow you to put some pressure on his leg with your legs and affect his balance. Stay down in your stance while you do this because he still has a live dribble. If he shoulders you to create space and gain his balance back, then you need to flop, that is, take the charge. A good catch, one where the offense is threatening to score right away, means you need to close the space carefully. Approach him with very small step slides using what you learned from the closeout maneuver. Get your lead hand up to initially discourage the shot, and then bring your hand down to his shot pocket, allowing you to measure the gap. If the player gets low with the ball, he's a threat to drive. He has no shot pocket, so you can use your lead hand to discourage the sweep. His stance is low, therefore yours must be lower. He must raise up in order to shoot or pass. That's time for you to adjust. If the player gets high with the ball, then he can't drive or shoot. His only option is to pass. Stay in a stance, but eat up the space and go body to body with him. Trace the ball with your hands, crowding his passing lanes and his vision. But remember, he still has his dribble. If he brings the ball down, then you must give a little ground, returning to your standard defensive stance. If the ball's in his shot pocket, then he's in triple threat and very dangerous. Stay in your stance and use your lead hand to make him move the ball out of his shot pocket and away from the shot line. Now, don't get greedy and narrow the gap so much that you can touch his belly button. Being that close, you'll get burned. Your primary goal here is to simply get the ball out of his shot pocket without allowing yourself to be susceptible to the drive. Some of the same principles that are used to influence a dribbler's direction are also used to influence the direction of a player with his pivot. If you have a choice, force him to his weak hand. It's called a weak hand for a reason. Force him to use it. Position your body and stance at such an angle that it leaves him no choice but to go in one direction. Or force him to an out-of-bounds line and use it as another defensive player. You can get a one-man trap. Or force him to a help defender. Or finally, you may need to force him wherever your coach prefers, based on your team's defensive system. Play the drive by reading the offensive player's non-pivot foot, which I call his attack foot. Any movement from this foot should elicit a response from you. If you don't move back, he's already gained a half step and can easily beat you on the drive. So when he makes a slight move forward with that attack foot, take a 2-foot hop back. This will give you a head start on his drive, help you anticipate, and get your feet moving quickly. If he resets to triple threat, don't hop back toward him. Creep up to regain the space. But let's assume he continues his drive. When his first dribble hits the ground and he begins his attack, the techniques of defense revert back to the last chapter on defending the dribbler. You must be positioned in a slight overplay while pointing to the ball with your lead hand, no matter which direction he's moving. If your opponent gets the ball in the post, you're in trouble already because it's difficult to stop a player just a few feet from the basket. So, the primary goal of post defense is to prevent the ball from getting there in the first place. Up the line, on the line means to have both of your feet on the line of the pass from the ball to your man. Place an arm bar on his chest as a feeler. You're now denying the pass with your entire body. If he wants to get the ball, he must fight his way through you. Another reason to play up the line, on the line, is to keep you from being sealed when the ball is passed around the perimeter. If you're on his hip with only your hand in the passing lane, then when the ball is moved, you're going to get sealed behind him and schooled. Post defense is a battle for space, and you must win that battle before the ball is passed. On a low to high diagonal cut, chest the cutter off the line of the ball. You can't hold him, but you can arc him off of the line of the cut. Now, if he starts his cut and midway changes direction, heading towards the low post, shoot an arm bar through across his chest, snap your head, change your stance, and deny with the other hand. If he's too strong for the arm bar, get your hands up so that the officials don't call you for holding, and chest him off of the prime scoring area. If he tries to slip behind you for a baseline cut, then just bump him with your bump. Make sure to keep your arms up and wide. The battle for space in the post is not won by the arms. Rather, it's a foot battle for the passing lane. Unlike on the perimeter, a hand in the passing lane isn't enough. So, beat his foot by stepping over his leg. This will put your body in a dominant position with your hand and arm covering the passing lane. What if you're guarding somebody so good that a simple denial isn't enough? Perhaps a dead front is the only way you can keep your opponent from getting the ball in the post. Here's how it works. Take your outside arm and swim over his arm. At the same time, swim over his arm and shoulder with your arm and shoulder. Pass your hips past his. His weight can't support yours, and you'll slip in front, sit down, get your hands up wide, and keep a dead front. Some post players are so good at winning the battle for position that you must spend your energy not playing them, but confusing the passer. The way to do this is to constantly change your positions so that the guard can't get a read on the proper passing angle. The passer may get confused and decide that it's not worth the risk, or better yet, he may throw the ball away. Place one forearm on his waistline in an armbar position and put the other one up in the air as if you're getting ready to use it to block his shot. If you use that hand to reach in and try to deflect his dribble, it'll get your body out of position and you'll lose your base and he'll spin and beat you. Resist that temptation. Your job is to stay between him and the goal and to hold your ground.